Welcome to Build with Naz. My name is Naz. I am the author of the Rebel Open Core repo and also the maintainer and author of quite a few text user interface crates and also asynchronous shell crates on crates.io. I also run developerlight.com, which has been around for 2 decades. It's a developer site. Lots of interesting content. Do like lots of like coding related articles and sometimes productivity and other stories as well. So recently I had done this video where I was using Pop! OS for many years and I love tiling window managers, but I didn't want to go too far into like i3 or like Sway, or there's another one for Hyperland for Wayland. And so Pop! OS was a really good one for that. But recently I switched away from Pop! OS 22 because it's really old to Ubuntu 24, and it's been pretty great. But I do miss the tiling window manager that's gone. So when I recorded this video and wrote this article, I was going to do a follow-up video, which this is that follow-up video where I was going to walk through all my keyboard shortcuts and how I use keyboard navigation primarily instead of using the mouse, using the my UHK, and what the shortcuts are for like VSCode and Rust Rover, IntelliJ based IDEs and VSCode based IDEs, and also like some other system-wide shortcut changes and also configuration for UHK. I mean, everybody has their own preference, but I thought I would share some high-level kind of generalized information that might be useful to anybody without getting too far into specifics. I mean, not specifics, but like too far into really difficult or really overly custom, like let's say keyboard shortcuts, which require, you know, double tap, or, you know, tap and hold, and doing a lot of really complicated stuff. So this should be broadly applicable for anybody who's looking for quick wins for enhancing their productivity on Linux. So right now I'm on Ubuntu 24, and the first thing I want to talk about is the lack of tiling window managers. So here we have I have something called Tactile, which is a GNOME extension, which kind of works this way. You can choose like you know, how you want to size your windows on a grid. So it's not that sophisticated, but it's okay. Another thing that's missing is that there is no easy way to shift focus from one window to another. This was a really nice feature in Pop! OS with the Pop! OS shell. Good news is Cosmic is in Alpha 1 right now, and I'm planning to switch to that whenever that hits release. This is very exciting, and I like that it's available for multiple distros. So it's not really, I think there was something here where it was listed like how many other distros. Yeah, so like Fedora, NixOS, Arch, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So hopefully this will be available for Ubuntu down the line, and then I'll definitely switch to it when it's ready. So yeah, Cosmic DE is disconnected from the distro. It's just it's not tied to Pop! OS, which is a wonderful decision on the part of System 76 to really embrace the community. I love that. So yeah, it can work on a variety of different distros. It just replaces GNOME. So here's, if you want to keep track, there's a whole host of things here for Cosmic. Yeah, and it's written in Rust. So for now, Tactile is something that I've been using, but yeah, it's not that great. But yeah, looking forward to Pop! OS when it comes out. Another thing with the Cosmic changes is that the tiling window management has gotten a major upgrade where it's equally intuitive to use it with keyboard shortcuts and mouse navigation, and there are very few keyboard shortcuts. I've actually cut down on the number of keyboard shortcuts that are available, and it's just very, if you watch some of the videos, it's actually it's looking very good. So okay, so that was the sort of the tiling window manager thing. Yeah, auto tiling. I couldn't really find any good ones for GNOME. There's a bunch of different ones, but tactile is it's okay. So the other thing that I use is this thing called the Ultimate Hacking Keyboard, UHK. This is an open source keyboard. The firmware is open source. The person who creates it, Laszlo, he's a great guy. He codes the firmware himself, builds everything himself. It's based out of Hungary, and I can't say enough nice things about it. And like the philosophy of these keyboards, it's meant to be sustainable and to be used in the long term. So right to repair and all the goodness that one would expect is baked into the values of this company. So yeah, definitely worth checking out. They're very expensive keyboards, but as professional programmers, I mean, the way I think about it is I hear people complaining about, how expensive a keyboard is, but if you look at a race car driver, like, I don't know, these things are expensive. So as a professional, yeah, it's totally worth it. If it boosts your productivity, preserves your hands, and ends up making you more productive, then it has more than paid for itself. So I don't mean to go into a sales pitch for UHK. They haven't sponsored this video, but I have like 5 or 6 of them. Me and my wife use them, like 5 or 6 of them right now. I had like 2 or 3 of the V1s, so we're on V2s right now. And yeah, it's a fantastic company. And yeah, the whole thing is open source, so check it out. Agent is this wonderful configuration tool for keyboard shortcuts. I'll walk you through some of the shortcuts that I use. And there's a wonderful community. Everybody's very respectful. Laszlo's on here, along with a whole host of other people. It's wonderful. I can't say enough good things about this. Is it perfect? No. But what is? And it's constantly evolving and getting better. So it's a good company. One of the reasons I use the UHK over any other split ergonomic mechanical keyboard, the number one reason is these things. Let me show you. Let me see if it comes across on camera. So these things right here. So that's the keyboard, that's the left half. And these expansion modules, like this is a bunch of keys, and that's a mouse clicks and like a trackball. So that's really cool. That's a key cluster module. Then let me see. There's the other half of the keyboard with the other module. So this is the other module that I use. These are great. So this one is actually the key cluster, which just adds a few keys. You can get these awesome keycaps from Drop and Keyboard Nut. This is really awesome. This replaces the mouse. So it's a trackball. And then there's the clicky keys for the mouse. And if you don't want to get those, there is also this trackball module for. Oh, actually, that is a trackball module. I'm sorry. I just swapped out the red with the metal ball. So this is the one I use. But I also have a trackpoint module, which it's up to you if you like the old ThinkPad style. That's good. And touchpad. I have one of these as well. But I ended up using the trackball. It's personal preference, right? Get each one and then see which one you like. So that allows me to not use a keyboard. Like I'm sorry, not use a mouse. So right now I actually don't have a mouse attached to my setup. It's just it's basically just like a UHK. It's my second set. So that's the UHK along with these 2 modules. That's essentially what I have. There's no external mouse that I'm using, and for my needs, that's great. I mean, I do have an external mouse sometimes if I'm using Figma or some other drawing tool or something, but that's very, very unusual. So unusual, I don't even have them connected to my computer. So yeah, so one of the things that makes the UHK so useful, even without doing anything in terms of configuring it, is quite simply that you can replace the use of the mouse with that this thing. And you can even do mouse control with the keyboard, but that's more advanced stuff. So I really wanted to convey like sort of the lowest hanging fruit first, because that might end up becoming the most useful without having to invest too much in getting the productivity out of this workflow that I'm going to describe. So yeah, and there's a lot of like really small stuff that you can do that, at least in my experience, I found that's boosted things more than I expected. So quite simply, this is one of those. And this is before configuring anything. So basically, just let's say you have a UHK, you buy a UHK and you buy that this thing without using agent or any kind of configuration or whatever. Just either one of these three things will allow you to stop using a mouse, and like that is a good starting point, I think, for this sort of workflow. So it's really heavily tied to this particular keyboard, but I've tried a lot of different keyboards and like nothing comes close to this for my needs. There's a lot of other split keyboards. Like Kinesis has some good stuff, but no mouse attachment. There's Moonlander and a whole host of other ones, no mouse attachment. So I don't want to eliminate the use of the mouse completely, because it's in my opinion, it's not really feasible. And there are certain situations where mouse navigation does make sense. And so, but I don't want to use the mouse. I want to use, I don't want to move my hands off the keyboard. I want to leave them where they are and use my thumbs to articulate the cursor, or use my fingers using the UHK macros, which are agent to configure UHK functionality to actually move mouse. Yeah, so if you want to take it for a spin, this is a good place to start. This is just a demo. So this is roughly what the UHK key configurator looks like, agent. So you pick a layer, and inside of the layer there's like the base layer where it's not as I think there's another one called VIA, or where there's a tap dance. This doesn't support tap dance. This is not yet anyway. This has some advanced macro advanced macro programming language that's available, but I'm not even gonna go there, because I think that once I think VIA has done it better with tap dance, and if that can be ported over to agent, that would be amazing. It would make it so you don't have to like custom code some of these advanced macros, which it's just complicated. So yeah, so this is the like a web demo of agent. So you basically click on, like, let's say I want to like, first thing I probably want to do is get rid of the caps lock. So I can just basically say caps lock is now escape, and I can also do something like, well, if I long press the caps lock, then I mean, this doesn't really make much sense, but it could be, actually no, this makes a lot of sense. It could be the left control. So if I do something like that, now the caps lock key, which is, very important key on the keyboard, I can map it so that when I tap it, it's escape, but when I press and hold, it's the control key, and that's what this does. So if you tap it, it sends an escape, it becomes escape, and if you press and hold, it becomes left control. That tap stance stuff is really sophisticated. You can do touch, you can do long press, you can do double tap, you can do, and then tap and then hold. So those kinds of behaviors are not baked into agent yet. So that's the UHK. So and I've already revealed my first optimization is that, and I'm going to show you my actual. That was just this is the actual UHK agent application. This is running on my Linux box, my System76 computer. This is you can actually, there's RGB lighting on each key, so you can control that. And I think I learned this from John, the Rust John who? John who, at John who, not John Jengset. He did a great video on productivity with keyboard shortcuts, and one of the gems was remapping the left control key, escape, the left caps lock key to become escape that's one. And then the UHK optimization is if you, I think, I don't know, I think John had said to just to remap the caps lock to control, but because it's UHK and I can do more fancy stuff, when I single tap it's escape, and when I press and hold it is left control. And then I did a similar thing to the right hand side, which is the enter key. So when I tap the enter key, it's enter, but when I press and hold the enter key, it becomes alt. So I have control and alt on either side of my keyboard, which makes it super easy to manipulate them. And then I went and remapped all my VS Code, Tilix, which is my terminal emulator choice, and Terminator and Guake, Guake. I use that because the Tilix doesn't work in Quake mode yet for Wayland. I mapped it so that all the terminal emulators I use Guake, Tilix, and actually, let's see, Guake, this thing. Oops. Okay. Guake, this one. Then I have Tilix, Linux, and then there's another Terminator. So I essentially made it so that is that, yeah, oh, that's already zoomed in. So the keyboard shortcuts across all of these are the same, and I favor Alt, like Alt something. So my general rule of thumb is Alt something, then Control Alt something. Those are my go-tos. So Alt something, Control something, Control Alt something. And I've also mapped, UHK has these extra keys which are missing from a normal keyboard. Well, first of all, there's a lot of extra keys. The spacebar is split in half, which is brilliant. So you can map these to two different functions. And there's these, I don't know if you can see them. These are keys. They make a clicky sound. That's those keys. So you can map, oh wow, it's backwards. So you can map these to whatever key you want. And so what I've done is that the bottom one is Control. This is Control. The bottom right one is Alt, and that's Alt. So it's very easy for me to do Control Alt with either hand without moving my hand away from the keyboard and without doing this. So there, if you notice, they're all roughly in the home row. So I've seen other more sophisticated things which I could never get used to, where I saw this one video where somebody's like, if you long press F, it becomes Shift. So they had done something like this. I type really fast, and that never worked for me. It just messes it up. So, but the thinking is that you long press F, it becomes Shift. You long press J, it becomes, Shift. And so if you wanted to do, Shift F, you would just long press J and then type the F key, or tap the F key. Does not work for me. Tried it, doesn't work. So it just gets mangled, and it just not for me. It just doesn't work. It's too complicated. I can't remember stuff like that. So my shift keys are here. When I'm using like JetBrains IDEs, I just do shift, so that's nice. VS Code doesn't have shift, so I've had to create some alt bindings to kind of mimic that. So it's very IDEA-esque, but with a kind of VS Code slant, given that shift is simply not there. Fleet, which I also use sometimes, I just try to keep my the VS Code Rust rover and fleet bindings the same, and I try to keep them the same across all my terminal emulators, and so it just makes it easier for me. I even have a Chrome shortcut that I wrote called shortlink, and that also uses an alt key binding. So for this reason, so it's just easy for me to do alt this, alt that. There's another benefit of using alt bindings for Mac OS. If you ever have the need to use this with Mac OS or even Windows, it's just a lot of key bindings for alt are like, it's not a very popular key to do accelerators or shortcuts, so it makes it nice to use. Okay, so that's the big thing. That's like 90% of it, and then I can show you some uh, settings.json files in VS Code and rest over a keyboard configuration where I'll give you some examples of where I use this quite effectively. Then, so the other interesting things are you can, in the mod layer, which is these are, I think, 60% keyboards. They don't have up, down, left, right. So you have to activate up, down, left, right by holding a modifier key. So one thing that is useful in this situation is that, so if you hold down the mod key and then I made, what is it, J, K, L, and I, my cursors. And so if I do mod and then J, I go left, so mod J. And then another thing was, well, if I want it, I do control left, right a lot. So I put in the mod layer, if I do mod and then J, it's left. But then if I hold down F, it becomes control left. So I can skip one word left. Then if I do mod right, that goes right. But if I do mod and then F right, it jumps one word to the right. And F, by the way, is one of the primary keys in the home row. It's where those little dimples are. So F and J are those kind of anchor keys. So that's one nice little thing. It's a little bit more sophisticated because it's not just mod left or mod right. I can now do mod left, but if I do mod and then F and then left, I skip one to the left. And then if I do mod F, these are long presses, and then L, it just goes one word to the right. Similarly, I can also hold down Shift. I can hold down Shift and Control, and there's also Alt in here. So these are all basically like selection operations. So I found that to be kind of a good guiding principle, like start with the use cases and then create keyboard shortcuts to satisfy them. Otherwise, it just can become, you can get lost so easily. Like intuition, like just because something can be programmed in the most sophisticated way doesn't necessarily mean that's a good idea. So yeah, those are some of the really nice ones that I can think of. There's a mouse layer where I don't really use the mouse layer for moving the mouse because, like I said, I have this thing. But if you wanted, you could actually do something like, you know, there's a mouse layer and FN layer. You could map it so that if you hold down one of these keys, it goes, the mouse moves up, left, right, and down. And then you can, like here I never use this, but if I do mouse layer and I do the H key, it clicks it. So I don't think I've ever used it. Yeah, and then, so then beyond that, it's, you know, really up to you how you want to configure it. I have some of these things mapped to function keys because when I'm booting Linux or when I want to switch to a, not a pseudo terminal, but the kernel terminal, it's handy to have function keys. So I can do Ctrl Alt and then F4, and then I go into a TTY, Linux TTY. I actually did a video on TTY recently, going into the details of all of that, like userland TTY, and this is a good one. I mean, it's a good one if you care about TTY. Otherwise, it's not that good. Where is it? Userland? Oh, there it is. Yeah, kernel TTY and userland TTY, so or PTY. Good stuff. If you're into terminals and Linux, which I'm assuming you're watching this video, you're probably into terminals and Linux. That's a good one. I have a bunch of videos on there as well. Okay. So let's see. That's my FN row, and I think that's pretty much it. I have some macros which are nice. Like, I don't know if I do this anymore. Back in the day with Pop! OS 22, GNOME used to lock up all the time, so I had mapped some keyboard shortcut to do GNOME reset. So I would tap Alt F2, wait for 0.1 seconds, type R, and then press enter. So this was just awful. This is why I switched to 24. Now when GNOME locks up, it just logs me out, which I almost prefer. I mean, it's terrible, but it's the lesser of two evils, from my perspective anyway. Then this is insane. This is GNOME safe reboot. So you can go, you can create like some There's a whole macro programming language that's available with UHK. You can do that. Like this is some crazy stuff. Like you can configure this thing to your heart's content. But again, until TapDance becomes available, I think the usability of this macro language is still early days, and the product is constantly evolving. So, and there's a great community as well, and Laszlo is very active in this community. So the person who's responsible for this keyboard is actively, interacting with the community, and I love the attitude of UHK is that they don't wait for community contributions. Like they'll interact with the community and then get some, much asked for features and then implement it. You'll see UHK itself implement it, not wait for community contribution. I find that to be a fantastic way to take ownership of your own product. Connect to the community to get like real hands-on user feedback from actual users rather than relying on the users themselves to improve the product. Because this is a paid product. It is not open source. I mean, it is open source, but the product is paid. The hardware you have to buy. So there's a customer company relationship there, which I think it's a really beautiful way of expressing that. It's like blending open source into how a good product company should be run. Okay, that's pretty much it. Like, I don't want to go too far into this. You can, if you really are into this macro programming language, then check out these links, and there's a whole host of stuff in there if you want to go crazy. And there's a lot of information in this discourse which can guide you. And I'm not getting into the fun stuff, which is you can go to drop.com or novelkeys.com, and these keys are hot swappable. You can just pull out the keycaps with the key puller, and the switches themselves are hot swappable, so you can spend a lot of time tuning that to your needs. And then what else? I think that's pretty much it with the this agent is really nice. Like if you make changes, you can always back them up to a file, and it has a change history, so you can always go back. I've done this many times where I mess something up and I'm like, oh, I'll go back to what it was yesterday, and all is well again. So looks like I did it this morning. So yeah, UHK is great, and it's very easy to use. Like I had a Digma keyboard, and they don't really pay attention to the software, especially on Linux. Like there's still problems with permissions when you run their configuration software. So UHK doesn't have any of these problems. Like this is made by a company that's all about solid engineering. Like you can feel it in the product. And again, this is not a sponsored video. Okay, so now let's jump from UHK to GNOME, and then from that I'll go to VS Code and Rust Rover, and that's the end of the video. So in Wayland and Ubuntu 24, and it's I think I have it, yeah, right there. Keyboard remapping. There's a whole bunch of information in here you can look at. Like if you don't even if you don't have a UHK, you can just remap caps lock to control using this thing. So so basically, let's see. Yeah. So one of the things that I have, like this is a strange thing because of Wayland and security, where if you want, like for example, to activate Guake, which is my terminal, I set the keyboard shortcut to launch sh. And then to sh, I pass as a command line argument Guake-t. So that then this is what ends up opening my my terminal. So when I do this keyboard shortcut, that happens. So that's Guake, and that's how that Guake toggle is happening with alt space. And so yeah, so you can basically do like, I have Flameshot configured, so sh-c. So everything is wrapped in sh-c. That's what I wanted to show. That part I think is a little bit strange. I used something called TextBander because I couldn't find a text snippet program. This is crazy. It's just a bash shell. It's just a bash shell script, which I just bound to a keyboard shortcut, and it actually works pretty good. It works with another program that shows like a selection of things that you can a list of things you can select from, and then it copies it to the clipboard. I might actually build something like this once Cosmic comes out, build a bunch of these applets to make it easy to do like snippet expansion and stuff like that. Actually, I think I'm going to, so. But I'm waiting for Cosmic before I start putting any effort in that. Okay, I mean Cosmic to get to GA. So that's that. I'm going to start closing these programs because we don't need them anymore. So let's look at VS Code before we look at Rust Rover. So one of the, let's see, keyboard JSON. Okay. So notice that I was expressing that there's this pattern I used, like Alt something and then Control Alt something and then Control, like Alt something, Control something, Control Alt something. Those all that, whatever the key is, I try to keep things as related as possible. So I will give you an example of this. So there's a little bit of creativity that goes into deciding like what these keyboard shortcuts should be. So let's see. And you can also do this with up, down, left, right. So, because remember the mod layer has the, I can do Control, Shift, and Alt very easily without doing it, like it's just on the home row. That makes it very easy to create certain interesting shortcuts. So let's see, like this. So we have, let's see, up and down, I think, up. Yeah, so I have like Control up, then there's Control down. So this is very easy because I have, when I do up and down, I can just hold down F and it becomes Control. If I wanted to do Control and Alt up and down, then that's also very easy. I just do Mod and then F is Control, and then I have like G or D mapped. So it makes it very easy to do like Control up, Control down, Alt up, Alt down, Control Alt up, and Control Alt down, and left and right. So those are a lot of really handy key bindings that you can use. Then let's see, I do, because I don't have Shift, I have like Alt F. So do Alt F and then Control Alt F, stuff like that. So Alt F does this thing where I can just see all my recently open files, and then if I do Control P, that's like all the actions that I can invoke in VS Code. Then I have like Control Y, which is just a way to navigate the symbols in the file. And I have Alt Y, so I can type it. So that's another one of those Control plus Alt things. So this one, Control Y, and then I have Alt H, which is search and replace. And then I think Control F is just, so Alt H and then Alt F, Control F, and then let's see what else we got. Yeah, so I can actually share this if people are interested. But yeah, I mean, people have their own style, so I don't know how much value there is in that. But yeah, just the thinking that's helped me is like if it's Alt plus something, there's going to be like Control plus that, and sorry, Alt plus Control Alt. So Alt plus something, Control plus Alt plus something, and then Control something, and then let's see, like Control Alt. I think I do Control Alt N or H. Oh, let's see. Alt plus. I can never remember this. N, I think. Oh yeah, this is an interesting one. So this is to toggle. There it is. So see, I'm toggling the inlay hints. So I do Control Alt N. This is a nice Wayland bug where when I do Control Alt N, if I don't move the mouse in OBS Studio, you won't see it. So I'm like constantly moving the mouse so the video doesn't go out of sync. There we go. Okay, so this is toggling the inlay hints, and then for that I had to get something called, another extension called setting cycle. This is pretty complicated, but you can do stuff like that. Let's see. What else we got? Yeah, so that's essentially it. I mean, I won't go too far into describing my key bindings, and I'm sure you have your own flow. And yeah, let's see. So whatever key bindings I do in VS Code, I end up mapping them here. So let's see, where are we? Settings, yeah. So I have a key map. I've been using IDEA since like version 1, and I used to have a long time ago a bunch of Kinesis Advantage keyboards. This is before the new ones came out. So my key map was called Kinesis back then. So I've been migrating my IDEA configuration since like IDEA came out. So this is why it's still called Kinesis, even though I don't have a Kinesis keyboard anymore. But yeah, there's a whatever Ctrl Alt thing that I'll do for VS Code, I end up doing it for this. So it becomes pretty straightforward. So that way I don't have to remember to like, you know, Control. I have like Alt F. That works here. I have Alt E. Oops, sorry. Alt H. Nope. What is this? Oh, looks like some of my key bindings are not exactly in sync. I think Control U. Yeah, there we go. Control. Let's see, this one is the same. Yeah, this is the symbols. Just IDEA does renders them differently. And then let's see. So yeah, that's just a simple thing to keep the keyboard shortcuts in sync. And then let me show you Tilix. I have, for example, in Tilix, if we look at my keyboard shortcuts, I have. It's probably really small, but so terminal up, terminal down. It's all Alt, so I don't use Control or whatever the defaults were. Just Alt D, Alt R, Alt S, and so these are all like, I use the same exact Control Alt thing everywhere. So if I do Alt R, it splits it to the right. If I do Alt D, it splits it to the bottom, and so on. And I do the same thing with tmux. So in my tmux configuration, which I use tmux here, as you can see, this is tmux. Yeah, I use a very similar kind of mindset here. I haven't done too much with tmux in terms of configuration, but it's not nothing. So let's look at my tmux config. Yeah, that's pretty okay. It's not that much. So essentially, I just put the terminal in true color mode, and I told it to use the mouse. This made a huge difference. This one was big. Before that, tmux looked funny because I use because the TUI stuff I work on, everything uses true color if possible in the terminal, and things were looking a little bit sad in tmux. So yeah, with that, I think that's all I wanted to cover in this video. This is going to be a short and sweet one, not like my 2+ hour Rust live coding videos, or like heavy topics like subtyping and variants and Rust lifetimes. I wanted to give myself a little treat, so this is a much more fun productivity video. Yeah, let me know in the Discord if we have a Discord. If you want to see more content like this, I can do much more like productivity mindset types of videos. I'm not a professional racer, but I wanted to be. I've done some amateur like fast driving. I wanted to be an amateur racer, and I've done martial arts my whole life. So there's a lot of interesting things around just how to sort of position things or frame things in your mind to help with productivity and workflow that I've put a lot of effort and energy into over my life. So, and a lot of that actually is going to the Rebel products. That's why I'm so keen on developer productivity, because I love this stuff. So yeah, Rebel is also coming along in a nice way. I'm hoping to be able to show this stuff soon. It's just taken like so long to build this infrastructure from scratch. Because nobody has really put any effort into terminals. Like there's no React for terminals for years, decades. So it's taken a long time to build like a pseudo graphics engine atop standard in and standard out that takes like React and Elm type functionality and sort of allows expressing applications to in that with that mental model in the terminal. And then later on, I'm actually adding CRDTs. So there'll be like things like in the Markdown editor, there's going to be multi-user editing. So that's going to be great. I cannot wait to roll that stuff out. Let's see. Yeah, so if you like this style of video, please give us a thumbs up. Let me know in the Discord if you have any comments or thoughts on this video or the other videos. If you want to see other content, let me know. I tend to disable comments in all the social media. Anywhere where I can, the comments are disabled. Because even though there's good comments, I don't want to deal with the negative comments. So for that reason, the Discord is a good, safe place to share thoughts. And then, yeah, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And also the newsletter. This is nice. That way you can, I'll just send in, I only send out newsletters when there's new content on the channel. So when there's YouTube or developerlife.com, there's new articles, I'll send out a newsletter. But other than that, this is maybe like once or twice a month you might get something. So yeah, I think the next video I want to do is something fun like clap colorization in Rust, because Cargo uses colored clap, so I have figured out how to do the same thing. So I'm going to do a video on that, and I think I'll do another one on creating an asynchronous shell. So like if you wanted to create a REPL for yourself and make it fully async in Rust. So like if you wanted to make your own like interpreter, you know, you'd have to write the parser for whatever it is strings you're typing in. But I just want to show like if you want to make your own like shell, how you would do that. And that's pretty much all I have on the list of content for the near future. So thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.